So, you've heard the big news. God created everything, and then Adam and Eve messed it all up. But the question is, how does this ancient history actually impact us today? Well, let's keep going. This is Genesis in 10 minutes, Part 2. Genesis 12 to 22. We meet Abraham, the father of faith. God calls him to leave everything, his family, his friends, his home, and to go to Canaan, a land that will later become Israel. In Genesis 12:2-3, God makes an amazing promise. I will bless you and make your offspring as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the grains of sand on the seashore. Your offspring will take possession of the cities of Canaan, and I will make you a father of many nations. Whoa, a whole nation of people will be descended from Abraham, and they'll possess the land God promised. But there's a catch. It will happen through Abraham's son, Isaac, not through Ishmael. That means that if Abraham and Sarah have faith in God and obey God, their descendants will become a great nation. But if they try to take matters into their own hands and give God the grandchild He wants in their own timing, then their descendants will come from Ishmael, not Isaac. So they waited, and guess what? God kept His word. Isaac was born when both Abraham and Sarah were too old to have children. Talk about faith. Abraham is called the father of faith because he believed God's promises even when they did unmake sense or when things looked bleak. In fact, the very first thing God says to Abraham in chapter 12 is this: know that your offspring will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will be enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. But I will judge the nation they serve, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. Now, when God made this promise, Abraham was 75 years old. So if the math holds up, Abraham would be 115 when he sees the promised land. It wasn't going to happen in his lifetime. So Abraham had faith in a future that he would never see. And God credited that faith to him as righteousness. Genesis 15:6. Abraham believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Jacob and Joseph. Genesis 25-50. Family, struggles, and redemption. Let's fast forward. Isaac now has 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. One day, Isaac blesses his older son, Esau, but not in the way that Esau expected. So Isaac's blessing was supposed to be a blessing, but Esau got angry. He wanted to kill his twin brother, Jacob. So Jacob runs away and he meets up with his uncle Laban. Now, while he's there, he falls in love with one of Laban's daughters, Rachel, and he works 7 years to marry her. But when the wedding night comes, Laban tricks Jacob and gives him his older daughter, Leah, and then Jacob has to work another 7 years to marry Rachel. Now, meanwhile, back at home, Esau marries two women who are not from his family. And this really upsets his father Isaac. But this is what Jacob and Esau get for messing things up. Their descendants will no longer be as numerous as the stars. They'll be as numerous as the grains of sand, which is still a lot. Don't get me wrong. But do you see the pattern here? God promised a great nation, but only if they follow him. If they stray, their descendants won't be nearly as numerous. Anyway, long story short, Jacob and his family end up in Egypt, and Jacob's favorite son, Joseph, gets sold into slavery by his jealous brothers. But Joseph rises to the position of prime minister in Egypt, and he saves his family from famine. Then he forgives his brothers for selling him into slavery. As the story ends, all of Jacob's 12 sons are in Egypt, and guess what? They become a great nation, just like God promised. Joseph is the last of the patriarchs, and through him we meet some new characters like Pharaoh and the Israelites, and none of them are very nice. The priests are exploiting the people. The people are crying out to God, and God raises up Moses to rescue his people from slavery in Egypt. But that's gonna have to wait until next time. God works through broken people for his purposes. That's what we see throughout Genesis. But now, we need to talk about the big picture. Let's zoom out for a minute and see how Genesis impacts us today. First, Genesis is more than a history book. It's the beginning of God's redemptive story. Through creation, fall, and promise, we see humanity's desperate need for a Savior. And second, Jesus is the fulfillment of the promises that started in Genesis. Like, remember that promise God made to Abraham about a great nation. Jesus is the descendant of Abraham, the promised Messiah who will save his people, the nation of Israel, and all who put their faith in him. We hope you enjoyed this overview of Genesis. If Genesis shows us anything, it's that God is faithful. What stood out to you most in Genesis? Drop it in the comments.